Okay, good morning, guys. Good morning, Fallon. Good morning, Tony. Good morning, Adam, Wallace, and Anas. Thank you for having this session once again for our technicians around the country. Good morning to all our technicians who have taken the time to join in. Thank you very much. Uh, Thank you very much, all, and let's get started. All right, a short introduction. My name is Paul from Panasonic. We will start with our first session on the single zones, followed by multi-zones in our next session. Any questions, please write them down and we will discuss them later. And just in case I don't have an answer for you today, for whatever reason, I will definitely get you the answer as we progress. So again, we are going to start with single zones followed by multi-zones. Okay. All right. So with our single zones lineup, we have our new series, the WKUA, that was introduced last year, early last year, April, May. And then we have our existing multi-zone models. We have 2 zones, 3 zones, 4 zones, and 5 zones. We'll talk about this in detail later, okay? CS stands for indoor unit, and CU stands for outdoor unit. Also, we have a different model, an existing older model, exteriors E. E stands for E as in 24, 18, 12, 9 heat pump that ends with an RKUAW. These models can be installed single as well as multi. But the WKUA at the moment, we can only install it singles, and it has been approved for only 3 zone outdoor unit at the moment. So these are single zones, but they can also be installed at the moment for only the 3 zones. For the 2 and 4 and 5 are yet to be approved. As for the RKUAs, you can install them single as well as multi. Okay, guys? The WKUA, okay, the WKUA, which is our new unit, which is our new model, new series. As you can see over here, we have the 9000, 12, 15, 18, and 24. That model has a built-in NanoX technology. NanoX technology, I will talk a little bit about it in my next slides. It also has a built-in Wi-Fi, so you don't have to buy any external device to hook it up in case the homeowner is looking for a Wi-Fi. It has wireless remote control that comes with it, and if your customer is looking for a wired, you can also supply them with wired. The E series, okay, the E series over here, which ends with a WKUA, RKUA, this one here has the Econavi sensor built-in. The Econavi sensor built-in, we'll talk about it. And that same model, this same model here, does not come with a built-in Wi-Fi, but you can add on InterSys Wi-Fi as and when needed. I put this note here, easy error code retriever. Trust me, I've been with other manufacturers before, and these Panasonic models, all the models that we have, super easy to retrieve an error code. And also, it only keeps one error code, the latest error code. So you can start your day by calling the homeowner. If the homeowner called you for whatever reason, timer light is blinking, not the power light, the timer light, you can easily explain to the homeowner how to retrieve the error code. That way you can pass by the supplier to get parts if needed. Then we have the auxiliary heater. This NanoX technology unit comes with a built-in plug, a built-in spot for using auxiliary heater. Auxiliary heater can be a hot water coil, a baseboard heaters, you name it. NanoX technology, truly speaking, this model has become our best ever model. It takes It takes care of the pollen, odors, mold, bacteria, viruses. It discharges trillions of water molecules, hydroxyl, into the room, goes and attacks any virus, any pollen, takes away hydrogen and kills it, and keeps the room fresh. And we had this technology in our air purifiers before, so it's nothing new to our technology. It's an add-on kind of thing. So we are very good with that, and trust me, you will not be disappointed. The good thing about this unit, besides the NanoX technology and the built-in Wi-Fi, they have reduced the thickness. You know, before the older models were a little bit wider, and it didn't look that great. They realized that, and they reduced the intake space with the same energy, efficiency. And then we have the louvers down. The louvers, we have the horizontal and we have the vertical louvers. So inverter technology, all our units, all our models that we are selling right now are all inverter technology. They are all IPM driven units. The compressors ramp up and down depending on the load. And as you can see here, the load is very little and the compressor is hardly running. And as the load increases, see what happens. The compressor ramps up. And who tells the compressor to ramp up? Is the indoor sensors. These indoor sensors here picks up this load, sends the signal to the outdoor unit, and that's when the compressor ramps up or down depending on the room temperature. So what is this inverter technology all about? It's just a single board. It's just a single board, and trust me, it's not too complicated. AC comes in, goes into this rectifier circuit. From the rectifier circuit, it goes into this intelligent power module where AC is converted to DC, and then DC is converted again to AC three-phase. AC three-phase, and that's how this compressor is regulated between U, V, and W. All the time you will get a balanced voltage there. Okay, and we'll talk about this, how to find out if the board is a problem or the compressor is a problem in my next slides. So there you see the regulation of our three-phase compressor between U, V, VW, WU. Okay, 120 degrees to 240 and so forth. 240 to 360, you get a full stroke. Okay, so it's not too complicated, guys. It's a single board and a compressor. Okay, it's either the compressor or the board when you have a problem with F error codes, and these are the F error codes that I'm talking about: F99, F96, F93, and F90. We'll talk about this a little bit in detail as we progress. But bottom line, at the outdoor unit, this brain here talks to the outdoor unit as well as to the indoor unit. And depending on what you are asking for, it corresponds with other components. If you want a defrost cycle, if you want to ramp down, if you want to ramp up, that's the brain of the unit. Okay, so with our Panasonic units, okay, with our Panasonic residential units, when you're replacing a board, you don't need to replace anything. You don't need to replace any chip or any EEPROM. Unlike our older models and our Sanyo models that we had before, that you had to replace a chip. With Panasonic, you don't need to replace any chip. When you get a board, replace it right away. You don't need to do any adjustment. You don't need to do any auto addressing as far as our residential products are concerned. So basically, an inverter technology is all about comfortable and energy savings. You know, it tries to maintain a comfort level, as you can see there, while giving you comfort. So I mentioned to you earlier about the RKUA that has an EcoNavi sensor. Okay, the RKUA comes with an EcoNavi sensor. With other brands, they call it IC sensor, or I don't know, follow me sensor, you name it. Anyway, with Panasonic, we call it Econavi sensor. What it does, it checks if you use on your remote controller, if you select Econavi mode, that's when this function is in action. This function is active. But if you don't select that mode, then that function is not active. And it's a very good mode, especially when you go to bed. Why? Because when you go to bed, you don't want to do a huge setback, like from 22 or from 73 to 72 degrees Fahrenheit, all the way down to 66 or 67. Because heat pump takes longer. That's how it is. Heat pump takes longer to heat up as compared to a conventional furnace or a boiler. So because heat pumps takes longer to heat up, please note that the huge setback you set, the longer it takes. So in my opinion, 2 degrees, I have always been successful, 2 degrees. And 2 degrees, you can either do it manually or use the Econavi function. And the Econavi function will see, oh, people have gone to bed, there is no more movement. So I am going down 2 degrees in heat mode, or 2 degrees higher in cool mode. And when they see activity, it needs to catch up only 2 degrees. So you will get fast comfort heating or comfort cooling, as opposed to if you go 6 degrees, 7 degrees lower. So please keep in mind that heat pumps, especially when it gets cold outside, it takes longer to heat a space as compared to a regular conventional furnace or a boiler. These are the specs. You know, it goes 2 meters ahead, 7 meters wide. So it covers a good area, covers a very good area for detection, for human detection. This lens here targets your body temperature. So it is purely based on body temperature, and it can sense the far you go, 7 meters, if you are in the range of 2 and 7 meters. So you're good. This is what I explained to you about the 2 degrees high and the 2 degrees low. That's the Econavi function. Otherwise, if you are in a regular mode, you can do whatever you want. You can set the temperature whatever you want. Auto mode is there when you need it. Auto mode, I have seen mostly used in commercial buildings. You know, when they wake up in the morning, when they get to the office, it's cold, so the unit is in heat mode. As time progresses, the sun comes out. During the day, it's like noon hours, it gets warm, so it switches over to cool mode. But auto mode for home use, I don't think it's the best mode, in my opinion. But again, if the homeowner is looking forward to use that mode, go ahead, please, no problem. But to me, as a technician, I have noticed auto mode is just a waste of energy, because two hours you're heating the space, and the next 2 hours you're cooling the space, and the next 2 hours again you're heating the space. So you're fighting against each other. So you're fighting against cool and heat. So in my opinion, like I'm talking based on my experience, auto mode very rare. But again, it's there, you can use it. So in auto mode, the fan speed is the auto fan. Just to correct myself, not auto mode, but in auto fan, the fan is regulated based on the temperature of the coil. Okay, so auto mode, as I mentioned earlier, is there. It changes from cool to heat, heat to cool. Auto fan runs high or low depending on the temperature of the coil. Okay, so when a customer calls and says, "Hi, hey John, how come my fan is going 5-10 minutes high and then low and then high and then low?" definitely there is something wrong with the outdoor unit, causing the coil to get hot and cold in a matter of 5-10 minutes instead of staying constant. Now it could be the refrigerant, it could be the sensor. You have to figure it out. If you don't think it's the sensor, then definitely there is something wrong with the refrigerant. Maybe sometimes slightly kinked pipe, restriction, name it.
Paolo,
So you can. What's that?
It sounded like you went out for a minute. You're good.
Okay, sorry. So guys, again, in auto swing, in auto vane, in auto air, fan, everything is calculated. Everything is based on the temperature of the coil. If you go in our service manual, this vane goes higher or lower or downwards or middle depending on the temperature of the coil. This vane, the vane angle, purely depends on the temperature of the coil, and that angle is available on our service manuals. So if you think that you have a problem with the vane or the vane motor, operate it in cooling, because in cool mode the vanes, they don't care about the temperature of the coil, only in heat mode and in auto. So if you are worried or you are thinking that there is something wrong with the vane or the vane motor, operate it in cooling just to make sure that you have a problem or not. And if you don't see any problem in cooling, that's it, you don't have a problem. It's purely dependent on the temperature of the coil. Okay, if this is not clear, please, we can discuss a bit about this in detail later. Our compressor, we make our own compressors. Okay, we have our own factory that builds these compressors, and they build it very strong. And I'm telling you very strong because very rare in my 6 years here with Panasonic, very rare I've seen bad compressors. So how it works? For the first time when you turn it on, don't expect the compressor to run like crazy or the running amps to go up to where it's supposed to be. It's going to take time. Okay, guys, it's going to take time for more than 3 minutes. For the first 3 minutes, it's going to run at a very lower frequency and obviously lower amps. So please, I beg you again, please don't conclude that you have a problem with refrigerant or you have a problem with the compressor or you have a problem with the inverter PCB. So for the first time, the compressor is going to run very smoothly, very slowly, and it's going to pick up. In my opinion, in my experience, start doing your assumption or start making your conclusion after 10 minutes. After 10 minutes of operation, you will have a clear idea. Okay, guys? You will have a clear idea of what's going on with this unit, whether it's refrigerant, compressor, or anything else. Okay, we spoke about wired remote controller. So wired remote controller, if a customer is calling you and saying, hey guys, hey John or Charles, I don't want a wireless remote controller because I'm afraid it might get lost. You can tell them that yes, we offer a wired remote controller, and that's where you will plug it. CNRMT is somewhere here inside the PCB. It is very close to CNHT, and the plugs can go into each other. So be careful which plug you're putting in, okay? Because the CNHT belongs to auxiliary heat. So I get calls once in a while that there is no display here. There is no display because he plugged it into the wrong spot. So make sure you locate CNRMT, okay guys? It comes with a cable, 32 feet. It comes with 32 feet cable, and if you need to extend it, you can extend it most likely with 22 gauge screen wire. Screen, maybe we can also call it shielded wire, okay? And this remote controller, just like the wireless, has the basic stuff, temperature, air swing, error code, retrieving, and so forth. Installation, the do's and don'ts. Okay. Normally, I don't train much on the installation part because most of you guys are so well experienced. But the reason why I bring this slide in once in a while is because I want to remind you guys, don't rush. There is no need to rush because 99.9% of our service calls is due to installation problems, installation related problems. Very rare weather, very rare the product. Mostly it's to do with installation. You know, we were in a hurry, we all in a hurry all the time, and then we just put that unit up there. We don't wait for nitrogen testing. We don't even have nitrogen sometimes. We just straight vacuum, and then we have a leak down the road. 2 years, 1 year, 6 months down the road, we have a leak, and then we have a problem with the compressor and whole can of worms. So in a normal procedure, a guy will go there, do his load estimation, pick up a capacity, pick up a model, whether it's a wall mounted, a cassette, or a ducted, it all depends. We have all those models, wall mounted, ceiling suspended, ceiling cassette, and ducted models, okay guys? Then pick up a good location, guys. Don't go close to the window. You know, when window gives out heat, especially in cooling, you'll get a lot of condensation. So above the window or above a door, it's not a good spot. Then comes the back plate. You know, the back plate is so important. Why it is important? It's because it's protecting the alignment of the blower wheel. If this back plate is not smooth, straight, and square, you will lose that blower wheel. Sorry, the blower motor, maybe the blower wheel also after less than 9 months. So please, this back plate sounds very easy to install, but if it is installed incorrectly or with less amount of screws and plugs, you will have problems with the motor. Outdoor unit location, you know, if you can get a wall to protect it from winds, cold winds, you know, wind chills of like -15 Fahrenheit, you know, it's good. It's good that you know, you protect it. -5 Fahrenheit, it's good. It protects and stays and keeps the compressor and the outdoor unit warm and produces good amount of heat even when it's super cold outside. And then we go and do the wiring. Wiring is always important, not to cross the wires. You get a communication error. We'll talk about this later. Test run, vacuuming, you know, pressure test, all that is important. Don't forget that, guys. This is how our indoor unit looks like. Keep enough of room here. You see, I put this in red because I want you to keep enough of room. 4 inches or more. If you can get more than 4 inches, well and good. Because remember, our indoor unit sensor, our air intake sensor is on top here. So what happens when you don't have space here? When you squeeze this indoor unit so high that there is air getting trapped here, it's going to put the outdoor unit into sleep mode, into standby, because all the time heat is trapped here. And now what? The sensor is saying, I'm happy. I'm more than happy. Go to sleep. Meanwhile, the guy downstairs here in this area is freezing. And it must have happened with you guys. It's happening. I get calls like this almost every month, once in a while. A guy will install it because there is no more room, and that's the external wall. That's the only wall he will put it. He doesn't want to do trunking work. It won't look good or something like that. And that's the problem. So please, once again, look for a good spot. That's your back plate once again. Put enough of plugs. Here I'm just showing you 5, but guys, 5 is not enough. Put more than 5. Obviously, nobody's using nails, but the guys decided to show a picture of the guy knocking a nail there, hammering a nail. And then when you come to the outer unit, keep enough of room on the right hand side. You need room for servicing, for flaring, and you name it. So please, So please keep enough of room. And when you're making a hole, this is another problem. You make a hole going out straight. Don't make straight. You don't need to make it straight, guys. You will have problems with your drain. Always drill it on a slant. Always drill it on a slant so that you have free flow of condensation during summertime. So please, if you know that, well and good. If your apprentice knows that, excellent. But if you don't know, please remind them always to drill your hole on a slant, please. These are the tips. These are the tips that you need to pay attention to. They are very simple tips, but they can cause problems if you don't obey to them, especially this guy here. You see this guy, he put a speed level. If this unit is not level, that oil will not come back easily to the compressor, and you may lose that compressor within 6 months' time. And then what? Oh, I bought a bad unit. I bought a bad brand. I get these calls. I bought a bad. I didn't buy a good brand. No, it's not that. We have units running for 10 years now, 10 years and counting. These are simple practice. I'm just reminding you guys. I know most of you guys are doing this for years and years, 30, 20, 15, 5 years. But please, these are the things, minor things that can cause major problems if you don't do that. So always remember to burr up after you cut your pipe. Apply a little bit of oil before you flare. That's the best thing you can do to avoid cracks, you know. Here, the guy left the pipes open, you know. Now, I don't think this can happen in today's world, but this thing can happen in your truck. Can happen in your truck. So please, if you have pipes that were used, always seal them, because you never know when you're going to use it. And for whatever reason you forgot to seal them, then please flush them with nitrogen before you connect them. Blow them through nitrogen with no problems, and you should be good. Another major problem with our heat pump and our communication technology, joining wires is not required. We don't want you to join wires. You will have problems. Please do not join any wires. Line 1, line 2, number 1, number 2, number 3, communication line, please do not join these wires. You will be called every week. If not every week, you will be called every once in 2 weeks. You will have to reset the power and go forth because you joined this wire. They are causing some kind of communication resistance here, causing down to trip on H11. Okay, so your power goes to the outdoor unit, and from the outdoor, 3 wires and ground, 1, 2, 3 comes to the indoor unit, and that wire, please also do not join it. 14 gauge is what we use. I went to a job site a while back, and the guy used 18 gauge, and he was getting all kinds of errors. The unit would run fine for 1 or 2 days and then trip. In cool mode, our unit will run around 130 to 150. 170 is a bit high, but it's okay if it runs, if the room is very, very hot in cool mode. But those are our ranges. If the unit is running below 120, rest assured you are low on refrigerant. So please keep in mind, our unit, unlike other manufacturers, 110 is not enough. 120 might not be enough. 125, 130, 135 is good, perfect. And in heat mode, 350 up to 425. 350 up to 425, we are good. Because I'll tell you, if you are low on refrigerant and you are in heat mode, customer is going to complain a lot. Every hour we are getting a defrost cycle, every hour. The system is designed to go into defrost every hour because it is thinking that the coil is going to be cold enough to go into defrost.
Paolo?
Yes.
Paolo, you went out.
Really?
Paolo?
Yeah. I can hear you.
Paolo, you went out.
I'm not having any problems.
Yeah, I think it's you, Fallon. Don't worry about it. Keep going, Paolo. You're good. I can hear you.
Oh shit.
How's it? Is it good? Is it
Yeah, I
good
can
now?
hear you, Paolo. You can continue. Go ahead.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry, Paolo.
No problem, no problem. I got to scare you all of a sudden. Okay, guys. Sorry for that interruption. Again, in heat mode, if you are low on refrigerant, you'll get a call of frost building up on the coil. You'll get a call of unit going into defrost all the time. So please make sure you have enough of refrigerant. You know, you have enough of refrigerant. You don't have too much. You don't have too little. You just have it on the dot. I see a lot of good questions are coming up. Please hold them for later. I will answer you one by one. So please hang in tight, okay? So gas leak. Always we check gas leaks, guys. I know you are in a rush. I know you have 2 jobs or 3 jobs, sometimes 4 jobs, job sites to visit. But mind you, if you have too many job sites to call to visit, then you may not perform well. You know, it's like visiting. I mentioned in my example, you know, like visiting 4 countries in 4 days. You know, 4 countries in 4 days in Europe is possible, but you won't see you won't see a country very well. You won't see its nature. You won't see its culture. You need to spend time. So the same thing with our units. If you are in a rush, the first unit you will not pay attention much. Then what? You will be called back again. So that's not the good thing, you know, for your reputation. So please make sure you do it right and you do it well. 350, 300, 350 psi is more than enough. Some guys put 400, that's fine. But remember, don't put too much of nitrogen because you might push this valve in and cause some leak of R410. And that's where the problem starts. The system came low from the factory, low charge from the factory. I understand that. I respect you, and you know what? Just do what you have to do right. You know. So please, sometimes too much of nitrogen pressure is not good. I have seen it firsthand. Okay, guys. I am in the field most of the time, just like you. So I'm seeing it all the time. Too much of nitrogen pressure testing harms this valve. It pushes this valve in. Nitrogen R410 escapes, and when you get rid of the nitrogen to start your vacuuming, you go away with some ounces. Okay, so please watch out for that too. Vacuuming, always remember 500 microns and below with a short length of 15 feet, 10 feet, even below 300 is the best thing that you can achieve. Always test your drain, even if you're installing this unit winter time. Always make sure you test your drain and make sure what is coming out and you're happy. Okay, always block the hole with proper silicone, because air, when air goes in, it can cause the unit to overheat in heating or go to sleep in cooling. So always keep that in mind, guys. Delta T, always see, if you have the time, measure the delta T so that your unit is working well. 14 degrees in cooling and about 25 degrees in heating after half an hour of operation. Okay, after half an hour of operation, 15 minutes is okay, but the longer the better. Make sure you have good delta T. Okay, so our indoor unit, if you need to measure any voltages, open up this cover here. You will see that the number 1, number 2, number 3 and ground that came from the outside unit. Okay, that came from the outside unit. Measure the voltages. If you're getting fluctuation voltage, if you're not getting fluctuation voltage, check. Sometimes when the technician is using the remote controller, they cannot hear the beep. Sometimes there is no voltage. Why? Because the outside unit has a problem, and for some reason it's not sending voltage inside. It's not complicated, guys. Please remember, repairing, servicing, maintaining a heat pump is not complicated. It's very simple. If at all you have to remove the blower wheel, remember on the right hand side, when you're facing the indoor unit, on the right hand side over there is where the screw is. You open up that screw, you slide this coil slightly up, and the blower wheel comes out. We had a call 2 weeks ago, I think. There was a unit shipped. Now we are blaming the shipment. We don't know if it's the shipment or the manufacturer, but we are hoping that it's the shipment. And guess what? The blower wheel on the left hand side came out of the bushing. So when the unit was turned on, it was noisy. So the guy, I explained to him, after he sent me a video, I explained to him, please check the bushing on the left hand side. The shaft may have come off. And right enough, the bushing was out. So he put it back and everything was good. Everything was perfect. Again, we spoke about vacuuming. Depending on your day, if you have high humidity, guys, if you have high humidity, please vacuum it longer. Okay, please, instead of using half an hour to get down to 300 microns or below 500 microns, go longer. Get rid of all that moisture, especially on a humid day. I spoke about how easy it is to retrieve our error code, guys. This is what you can ask the homeowner to do. If the homeowner calls you and says the timer light, okay, guys, the timer light, not the power light, not the power light, but the timer light is blinking. Okay, when the timer light blinks, you have an error code. When the power light blinks, the unit is in defrost cycle. Please write that down. The difference between green light power and yellow light timer. When the timer light blinks, you are in an error code state. When the power light blinks, you are in a defrost state. Okay, so when the homeowner calls you and says power light is blinking, that's defrost cycle. But when the timer light blinks, you can explain to them, take the remote controller and pull out what error code you are seeing. So what they do, they take the remote controller and using a thin, like a toothpick, but not your finger won't go into that little hole. You use a toothpick or something thin, press and hold the check button. For 5 seconds, you will see this on your remote controller. You will see this screen on your remote controller. All the 25 degrees, everything disappears. You will see 2 dashes and you will see an H. And we have 2 letters only on our error codes. 2 letters are H as in Henry and F as in Frank. So you will scroll through all the H first, and then you will scroll to all the Fs. And depending on what error code you have, you can find out what the problem is. And we have an app. We have an app. So when you get to the error code, when you get to the error code, let's say H11, it will beep and you will see H11 here. And the indoor unit will beep. So just to be sure that the error code is H11 or H99 and not F11 or F whatever you, go all the way to all the error codes and come back again to where it was beeping. Because mind you, there is only one error code stored in that remote controller or stored in that chip of the indoor unit that it will beep on. And I'll tell you, 99.9% of our error codes were accurate. I don't want to say 100 because you'll say, oh, Paul, you're bragging now. but the fact is, 99.9% all error codes that came off that indoor unit EEPROM, I'll tell you, was the problem. And I'm saying 99.9% because I'm comparing with our other friends. When you get an error code, it might not be the same problem. It might be a different problem. Anyway, so please forget about the rest. Just focus on us. Use the timer up and down to scroll to get the beep. And when the homeowner says, oh, it's beeping, you tell the homeowner stop and look at the screen. Look at the remote controller and tell me what you see. H or F and a number followed. Okay? H or F and a number followed. And then if you are at a job site and you don't have a service manual or you don't have the app, you can always refer to the indoor unit section here. There is a list of error codes. Okay, there is a list of error codes here. You can check. And our app, guys, if you have your smartphone, it's the Panasonic Air Conditioner Quick Service Guide. Panasonic Air Conditioner Quick Service Guide. Download that app and it's amazing. It's so easy. That's the app I use anytime and every time guys call me. So now you go and fix the error. Everything is up and running. I would strongly advise you not to run away, not to charge the customer and run as fast as your feet can take you. But please erase the error code. It doesn't take long, guys. Erase the error code because you don't want to come back for another issue for whatever reason and find an error code that does not belong to you. Okay, some guy would be called for servicing the unit, for just cleaning the unit, and then tries to be a little bit I don't know, inventive or curious, out of curiosity, or I don't know what you call it. They go into the error code and they find an error code and they try and fix it. Only fix an error code that the timer light was blinking. Do not fix any error codes or any error code stored inside, because it could be an error code that does not belong to you. Okay, after you erase the error code, guys, it's how you do it. You lift up the cover, you press the push button over there, which we call it the auto on and off. Once you hear once beep, and after you do that, you go to your remote controller and press the check button once. And after you press once, you hear another beep, your error code is erased. Okay, guys? That's your Nano X remote controller, and that's the check. That's the check over there down. That's why I was asking you to use something like a toothpick or a meter prong, whatever you can use to go in there. But obviously your finger would not fit in there. So please press and hold. The screen changes. You get two dashes with the timer up and down. Not the temperature, guys. Not the temperature, but the timer up and down. Scroll until you hear the beep. When you hear the beep on the indoor unit, stop. When you stop, you look at the remote controller and it will say H11 or H99 or whatever. Okay, so simple. You can save a lot of time. You can save a lot of hours. We spoke about this installation part. I will just scroll by quickly. This is your general tools. So important, so much important that you need it all the time. Your amp probe, your multimeter, your gauges, and your vacuum pump. Don't forget your nitrogen gauge, tape measure, speed level all the time, guys. Don't use your eyes. I know you have so much experience, 40 years, 30 years, but please always use your speed level, guys. You can exit on the left side. You can exit in the middle. You can exit on the right. You can exit down. You can exit on the left hand side down or up. There are so many ways to exit. If it's a high job, if it's a high installation job, I always tell my guys, please make your flares indoors. Don't make your flare outdoors, because it's so high that if there is a leak down the road, then you need 2-3 guys to help you with the ladder and you name it. But if the joint is inside, it's you and only you that you can fix it. So easy. So please always remember that if it's a high job, It's a very high job, high, like in a high-rise building, and the indoor unit is on the second, third floor, and the outdoor unit is all the way down. Please make your connections inside. Exit from the left-hand side, not from the right, okay? I mentioned to you about the screws. Put enough of fissures, even 10 if possible, to keep it straight. Always remember not to join the wires. I have a lot of problems of H11. And when I asked the guy, was the wire joined? He says, no, the wire was never joined. And then I said, who did the wiring? And he says, our electrician. I said, can you ask him? And when he asked him, and when he asked the electrician, yes, the electrician did join in the basement before he went to the indoor unit or before going to the outdoor unit. And that's where the problem is. So please keep in mind, we don't want any joints. It is causing an H11 error code. It's a nuisance error code once in a while. Benders. Benders are so important, guys. Use them all the time. It will make your job so neat that that homeowner will always recommend to other guys, other friends, other neighbors. That's how you promote your business faster than anything else. Word of mouth. So if you do your job neatly, you will always be praised. Even if you have to take 10 minutes or 15 minutes or even half an hour extra, use your bender. Don't use your knees or elbows, you know. Look at this joint. Do it right, do it well, do it neat. You will always be appreciated. See what happens here? When the guy is using his knee, and then you can't find this kink. You won't find it. What's going to happen? The compressor is going to start, stop. Start, stop. Start, stop. Then what? Oh, this is a brand new unit. There is a problem with this new unit. I want a new unit. You give him a new unit, same problem. Then the contractor says, I think it's the indoor section. Changes the indoor section. Same story. Then what? So please, bending using your hand, unless it's a very, very easy bend, okay. But if it's a tight bend, if it's a 90, please use a bender. 90, 70, 80 degrees, you need a bender, guys. 45, maybe you could be okay. Only on 3/8 and quarter inch, you are fine. But guys are using their hand even with 3/4, a half inch, and 5/8. That's dangerous. You can waste your time there. So please, once again, benders crucial. Benders important. Flaring tool. Always use flaring tool. Don't chop the flare nuts and braze them. Please don't do that. If you have to use brazing, always use nitrogen. Brazing and nitrogen always go together. When you're brazing, pass nitrogen through, get rid of this oxidization. Okay, guys? So please remember, nitrogen is one of your key components, key stuff in your truck. There's one thing I just remembered. If this oxidization is not cleared, okay, guys, if this oxidization stuff that is stuck in the pipe is not cleared, you know what's going to happen? It's going to go into the system, and inside our outdoor unit and indoor unit, we have meshes. We have something like a filter mesh. They go and get stuck there. Excuse me. They go and get stuck, and we have a problem down the road. Compressor is overheating. Compressor tends to overheat, or compressor will trip, and you will get an error of a discharge pipe thermistor. Sometimes you will be in a rush, you will change the discharge pipe thermistor. And next thing, after 2 days, you have the same problem. It's because of this guy went in and got stuck on that mesh. And we have like almost 4 meshes at the outer unit, and we have about three meshes at the inside unit. And they are very fine. They are very fine, easily to attract that. Another problem is the leak lock. I'll talk about this later because I have some pictures regarding leak lock. Leak lock also are not allowed. But when you go to a refrigeration store, they are selling and people are buying because refrigeration equipment, cold storage, mortuaries, and those kind of stuff, which I work on them as well, they don't have those trainers. They don't have those meshes that I was talking about in heat pumps. So that leak lock can be good for other stuff, but not good for our stuff. Please do not use them. I had problems with them. This is what happens. Everything is clogged. Compressor is complaining. Then comes the wrench. I know guys, they use this all the time. Adjustable wrenches. They use them all the time because they know that the feeling of their arm, they know that they got to the spot, the sweet, soft spot. But no, they are wrong. Always use this guy. Always use this guy, the torque wrench. I am 30 plus. I am 30 plus years in this trade, and I still use this tool because I don't trust my energy, my feeling of how I tighten, because I know I will crack this down the road. It will leak very minutely. Sometimes a leak can take forever to be seen. Please use torque wrenches. And in all our documents, in all our installation manuals, we have the values here. Vacuuming again. It's so crucial. When you have a rainy day, 100% humidity, go for a longer period of time vacuuming the system, even if it means an hour. Even if it means an hour, my friend, you'll be happy. Do other things. When you're vacuuming, you can do other things. You can do the wiring, you can do whatever you're allowed to do, the trunking work and all that stuff. So arrange your job in such a way that time is not wasted. This is how we can go. This is how we can go about. 540, I would suggest you not to go 540 on small systems, only on big systems. Small systems stop at 300, 400 maximum. I have used 400, so I'm okay. I never had issues. So 400 is good. When you have a mechanical problem, that's where you will do this delta T test, you know. And most of the time, 13 degrees Fahrenheit in 13 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit in cooling and around 25 degrees Fahrenheit in heating is more than acceptable for around 15 to 20 minutes to 30 minutes of operation. So always remember, it's a good idea to have that. Now delta T will vary depending on the fan speed. If the fan speed is low, then it could be a problem. If the fan speed is too high, it could be a problem. So at a moderate fan speed, you should expect 13 to 15 degrees Fahrenheit in cooling, 25 degrees in heating. Amp meter. Amp meter is good for running amps. Always good for running amps. When you're checking communication between indoor and outdoor, this amp meter might not be a good friend. I have noticed it's giving me wrong readings when I'm checking communication between number 2 wire and number 3 wire on the communication line from indoor to outdoor. Whenever I used an amp probe meter, the voltage was not the way, the results of the voltage that I was expecting was not good enough. And sometimes when the voltage is not good enough, we can condemn the board, indoor or outdoor board. Meanwhile, it's our meter. So only use this amp probe for your amps and a multimeter, a strictly multimeter for measuring DC voltage between number 2 and number 3. It's anywhere from 10 to 70, 70 to 10, all the way up and down, up and down, up and down. And when you're using this, I noticed it was giving me like 40 to 50, 44, 45, 46, and coming back, 44, 45. And then we thought the problem was the board, but actually it was the meter. Once again, these are your pressures: 125 to 140 in cooling, 350 to 425 in heating. Okay, when it's running at 350, it's probably still on lower amps, probably 3-4 amp on a 15,000 or on a 12,000 BTU unit. And when it gets to 425, we are talking about full running amps, 7, 6.8, 7 amps on same 15 or 12,000 BTU, and a little bit higher in amp with 18,000 and 24,000 BTU. Refrigerant, weighing scale. Anytime you have a problem with a system that you are suspicious about refrigerant, the best thing you can do, my friend, I know it will take time, but the best thing to do is recover everything, take it out, re-vacuum, deep vacuum, and put in new weigh in new refrigerant, not the same refrigerant. Okay, please do not use that same refrigerant that you pulled out. I didn't have good results with many job sites, so please put in new refrigerant, liquid, and weigh it in. This picture, I got it from a contractor. It was low on refrigerant. So it was not low, very low, but it was low enough not to completely defrost the coil. And that coil at the bottom there, as you can see, it's fully frozen. That is dangerous. Dangerous, as you know, it can cause the coil to burst. Thankfully, till today, I don't know in your area, but in our area here, very cold it gets, and I have never seen our coil busted. I have never seen a Panasonic coil busted. Touch wood. So please, even though I have said that, please, if you are low on refrigerant, recover everything and recharge. We need that coil to completely defrost, and we need that refrigerant, enough refrigerant to completely thaw, defrost the entire coil from top to bottom. So this coil, this picture, I got it recently, and this was not low on refrigerant. This picture, when the guy sent me, I told him open the unit and I want you to check the defrost sensor. And right enough, the defrost sensor was out of the well. I don't know what happened, honestly, but the sensor was not in that pipe. There is a design, a well that goes into the sensor with a clip. The clip was missing and the sensor was out. So after he put back that sensor in the correct spot, make sure it's nice and tight with the clip, everything is up and running. This is outside my test lab. I took this picture last week. Okay, you see on top, I go all the time. I go to these units all the time. Whenever we have snow, I take this off. I take this off because this snow here is not too good for our coil. It keeps our coil cold. As it is, the coil gets cold. And now with the snow, it gets even further cold. Puts the unit into defrost every hour. The top one was before and the bottom one was after. I cleared the coil. I cleared the ice, the snow. And this is what you need to tell the homeowner. That's why I brought this picture. So please, guys, I want you to do this, and I want you to explain to the customer, even if you're installing it in the summer, you may not go there for the next 5, 7, 10 years. So always tell the homeowner, if you're dealing with homeowners, that please, this is your responsibility. Just like your driveway, this is part of your responsibility. If the customer is worried, switch it off, clear it, then switch it back on. This is the inside of our unit. So basically, to get to this, to get to the controls, the PCB and the plugs and all that, four-way valve and all that, you need to open up the front cover, guys. Remember, if you're working on a Panasonic unit for the first time, the front cover needs to go off, and the top cover before you get to this area. Okay, guys? Then when you're opening the board on top, you will see this section here. This is fully sprayed as a waterproof. This section was not sprayed because you can use these 2 pins to short it. And once you short it, leave it there. Don't touch and leave it, but leave it there. If you have alligator clamps, clips, whatever you can call it, jumper it to pump down the system. Okay? To pump down the system, which means if you're an experienced guy, that can also tell you that the outdoor board is in good shape and the compressor is in good shape and you have a problem somewhere else. So you can use these 2 pins to pretend like you did a test run. But mind you, this was designed specially for pump down. So guys, this brings us to the first segment or first session that I mentioned to you about on our single zone. Okay? So we will move on to our multi-zone shortly if we are going to take questions now. If we are not going to take questions now, I can always move to our next slide. It's up to you, Fallon or Tony. If there are any guys who are asking questions, it's up to you guys.
There's a couple questions. Hold on. What don't we need to replace when replacing a board? It's hard to understand. Sounds like you said a chip. Do you need me to read that again?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear you clearly.
Sorry.
What do we need?
What don't we need to replace when replacing a board? He didn't understand.
Okay. So if we are talking about the outdoor unit, it all depends on error to error. So in this segment, in this session, we'll break down the error codes, and I will tell you why I didn't talk about the error codes in my single zone, because the error codes of a single zone and multi-zone are the same. So when we are talking about the error codes, I will break down to you what you need to change and what you don't need to change. But before I start this multi-zone session, if you have an outdoor problem, it all depends. If you, for example, if you have an electronic coil problem, and if that electronic coil has shot to ground, that can take away the outdoor PCB. And when it takes out the outdoor PCB, you can get a communication error. So before you decide whether it's the outdoor PCB or the electronic expansion valve, on this PCB, you will see a spot over here burnt. If you see a spot over here burnt, rest assured that the electronic expansion board killed this board. So when you're changing this board, replace also the electronic expansion valve. But if you see you have a communication problem, and if it's just the outdoor board, then yes, it could be just the outdoor board. So it all depends on error to error.
Okay, there's no more questions.
Okay, guys, that was a good question. Thank you very much. Okay, now we are moving to our 5-zone as my example. 5-zone is going to be my example, but truly speaking, all our multi-zones, they operate the same, they behave the same, and as we go through, you will find out what is so important about our multi-zones and why we are a little bit different from our competitors. So in this slide or slides to follow, we are going to talk about a 36,000 BTU 5-zone. Okay, guys? Remember in my first slide, the very first slide, I mentioned that we have a 2-zone, we have a 3-zone, we have a 4-zone, and we have a 5-zone. 5 stands for 5-zone, 36,000 stands for 36,000 BTU, the capacity of this outdoor unit, and -5 stands for -5 degrees Fahrenheit. This unit can work down to -5 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay. And this compressor comes with a crankcase heater. Okay. But multi-zones, all our multi-zone units, compressors, they come with a crankcase heater to keep the compressor warm. So don't worry if the unit is on, there is no issues. So do you see here what it says? Connectable 5 indoor units. Okay, this unit can connect up to 5 indoor units. However, a minimum of 2 indoor units is important. Now, when I say a minimum of 2 indoor units is important, it doesn't mean any 2 indoor units, guys. You have to connect 2 indoor units that will be more than 4.5 and less than 17.5 kilowatts. If you don't obey this minimum and maximum capacity, you will have an H12 or H14 error code, mostly H12. It's a capacity error code. For example, the guy installed 2 7,000s. See what happened here? He ended up with 4 kilowatt. And what we need here is more than 4.5 kilowatt, 4.5 or more. This is a 5-zone. A 3-zone, a 4-zone, and a 2-zone is different. So this is an example. And this example has to be followed the same way on other multi-zone models. Okay. Now, if this was installed on a 2-zone, you would be good. On a 3-zone, you would be good because the minimum and maximum is different on a 2-zone, 3-zone, and a 4-zone. Okay, guys. But for this case here, for a 5-zone, we are different. And if you're worried about what is a kilowatt, 1 kilowatt is 3,412 BTUs per hour. So it's an easy conversion. Just take that 4 kilowatt or 4.5 times 3,412. You got your conversion there. Again, I don't expect you to forget, okay, guys? You have Tony as your guy, and if Tony needs my help, I can help him. There's no problem. We help each other all the time. So, guys, once again, I don't expect you to remember all this. If you have a job, it's better you give us a call than make a mistake. Okay. Now, this is so important, guys. This section is so important. Why? Because as far as our competitors are concerned, as far as other products are concerned, manufacturers, they run their pipes based on the indoor size piping. If the indoor size pipe was 5/8 and quarter, they run all the way down to 5/8 and quarter, and they do the adjustment at the outdoor unit. In our case, for a 7,000, for a 9, you will run all the way. You will run all the way, quarter and 3/8, because our outdoor unit has only one side, 3/8 on the suction line and quarter on the liquid line. So for the 7,000 and 5,000 and the 9,000, you don't need any adapters. Okay, guys? But for the 12, 18, and 24, you need adapters. For the 12 and 18, listen carefully, guys. For the 12 and 18, because the Indo section is 1/2 inch and quarter, you will run quarter and 3/8 all the way to the Indo unit. And when you get to your 1/2 inch suction line, you will use the adapter. You will use this adapter to connect the 3/8 coming from the outer unit on one side to the 1/2 inch going to the Indo unit. Okay, for the 12 and 18. For the 24, it's a different story altogether. The 24,000 Indo head uses 5/8 and quarter. So what you're going to do from the outer unit, the suction line, you will run 1/2 inch all the way to the Indo unit. You will upsize it to 5/8 with one adapter and downsize it to 3/8 at the condenser. And the 1/4 inch remains the same 1/4 inch. If you have any questions, you can always ask me later. And again, if you don't want to ask me today, or if you don't want to ask Tony today, no problem. When you get this job, you can always give us a shout. Then obviously, you need to focus on pipe lengths, especially when you're doing a multi-zone. It could be a big house. It could be longer pipe lengths. So always remember to obey the pipe length. Okay, guys? For this case, for this 5 zone, maximum pipe length is 82 feet per Indo unit. Total pipe length is 262. Height difference is 49. And if the outer unit was located otherwise, lower or in the middle is 24 feet. Okay, guys? So remember, this unit is charged only for 147.6 feet. The moment you cross 147, you need to add refrigerant. And please, if I were you, I would always look into my installation manual to get the latest info. Okay? Installation manual will give you the latest info, how many additional gas is required, refrigerant is required once you cross the maximum pipe length, or once you cross the length that the unit was charged for. Okay, so in this case, you need to add refrigerant after 147 feet, and you should never go above 262 feet, and you should never go above 82 feet per Indo unit. That's showing, those are the slides that are showing you up and down, when the outer unit is on top, when the outer unit is in the middle, when the outer unit is at the bottom. Always, guys, I always try to remind my guys, always try to give less stress to this outer unit. Try your best to give less stress to this outer unit. When I say less stress, I mean try to place this outer unit in a location where the distance between the Indo and outdoor, it's not far away. Okay, guys? Please remember, even though this outer unit is good for 82 feet per Indo unit, if you have a choice, keep them closer. Okay? By keeping them closer, you give the compressor breathing space, not to work too hard. And when it doesn't work too hard, it will last you longer and longer and longer. So in this case, we have a 5 zone. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 Indo units that are connected. Our biggest problem, guys, please remember, when you're doing your piping, do not cross. Do not cross your pipes. Do not cross your wires. It will come to bite you big time, especially in the summertime, not in the winter time, because in winter you're running it in heating, and heating does not have an error code for crossing of wires or crossing of piping. Okay, so please keep that in mind. These are your sensors. Okay, on each and every pipe we have a sensor. Okay, we have a sensor on the liquid, we have a sensor on the suction, and then we have the electronic expansion valve. So when you power the unit, you hear the A, B, C, D, and E clicking. They click, and they make sure they work fine. If you don't hear the clicks, definitely you have a power problem. Okay? And if the system has been running fine and all of a sudden you have a problem, the customer is getting some blinks, go outside, you shut the power off, power back on. If you don't hear the clicks, definitely the problem is outside. So in most cases, it's very easy to troubleshoot a multi-zone, because if all indoor units are not working, all indoor units are flashing, definitely the problem is outside. But if 1 out of the 4 or 1 out of the 3 or 1 out of the 2 is flashing, definitely it's the indoor unit that has a problem. Very rare it's the outdoor problem. Very, very rare. Those are your pipe sensors for suction and liquid. Okay, that's your discharge temperature sensor. Okay, that takes care of your discharge pressure, discharge temperature of the compressor. Always remember, guys, always remember to do your wiring correctly. Don't cross the 1, 2, and 3. Then in our service manual or on our app, you have this chart. If you think the sensor is a problem, always refer to this chart. All our sensors, guys, are rated in kilo ohms. The moment you get ohm reading, you have a problem. The moment you get a fluctuating up and down reading on a sensor, you have a problem. But I'll tell you one thing, 6 years and running, the only time I got a defective sensor was a sensor that got cut. How it got cut, I don't know, but actually spliced, cut, and it's short. But I've never got a weak sensor. Now again, that doesn't mean that you may not come across. I'm not saying you will not come across, but I'll tell you, very rare, next to none, I received a defective sensor. Compressor, a guy will call me and say, Paul, between U and V, U and W, V and W, I'm getting same ohm reading. But why are you telling me the compressor is bad? That means the compressor windings are good, but the compressor is stuck, mechanically stuck. So it's throwing an error saying that the compressor is defective. So when the compressor is defective, it could be either the windings, which you will find different readings here, or you will find the same readings, but it's stuck mechanically. And I found out, they get stuck, these compressors get stuck when the compressor is starving from oil. So please remember, when you cross 25 feet of piping on a regular single zone unit, always remember to add refrigerant, because if you don't add the proper amount of refrigerant, that compressor is going to get hot and hot and hot. Eventually it's going to seize. Compressor oil is not coming back from the indoor unit side. So keep that in mind, okay guys? That picture is a picture that you will see when you open up a multi-zone unit, whether it's a 2-zone, a 3-zone, or a 4-zone, or a 5-zone. You will see that service PCB over there. In this case, this picture is for a 1, 2, 3, 4 zone. I took a picture of a 4 zone, even though the slides are of a 5 zone. This is your incoming power, okay? A, B, C, D. A zone, B zone, C zone, D zone, and if it was a 5 zone, there would be an E zone here, or it would be somewhere here on top. Okay, guys, it doesn't matter. So now our next few slides will focus on this board. Okay, guys, I will explain to you one by one what it does. So this service PCB has many functions. Okay, there is test run, there is pump down, there is wiring check, there is so many other things, power save, and you name it. I will explain to you the important part, only the important things. The other stuff I will explain to you very casually because they're not important. For example, the pump down. Pump down is an important part because let's say you guys want to add 2 more units or 1 more unit down the road, whatever, you need to pump down the system. So when you pump down the system, you close the liquid line, then you press and hold that switch, okay? The unit will go into pump down, the SW1, okay? You press and hold for 5 seconds, the unit will start, and when the compressor starts, what happens is each and every unit goes into cool mode, the electronic expansion valve is fully open, all the gas is collected to the compressor, and the compressor is expected to run a maximum of 15 minutes. I have never seen 15 minutes, even on big jobs, but you never know. Mostly 5, 7 minutes, and eventually it will shut down. So while the compressor is pumping down, recovering gas, all the gas from the Indo unit, be ready to shut your suction line, okay guys, because your liquid line is already shut using your Allen key, okay? So pump down will start, compressor will run at a fixed frequency, all the expansion valves will be fully open, all the Indo units will run in forced cooling operation. By then you have already closed your liquid line. Now you're waiting for the gauge to get to closer to 0 before you shut your suction line. Okay, guys? So those indication there, those indicators will tell you how many time is left, how much of time you have left. 4 lights blinking, 1, 2, 3. Sorry, three lights blinking tells you have 3 minutes. 2 lights blinking, you will have 2 minutes. 1 light blinking, 1 minute, and now you are ready to close your suction line or your gas line. And that's about it. If for whatever reason you want to cancel your pump down in between, you made a mistake or whatever, just press that switch again. Your pump down is canceled. This is another button, test run, guys. Test run is a good button that we always use to test the system to see if it's working fine, if there is enough of refrigerant, if there is a problem with the compressor, if there is a problem with anything. So what it does, test run, basically it runs, it makes the compressor run at a very high frequency, probably at the maximum frequency. Okay. So when we run that compressor at a higher frequency, we get a chance to measure the running amps. We get a chance to put your gauges. I'm not a big fan of putting my gauges all the time unless I need to. But in most cases, I will put my amp meter. I will check my running amps. Everything is good. Temperatures, measure temperatures here, there, and there. The last thing I would do is I will leave my gauges on. So when you press the test run, the unit goes into forced cooling. You will see the 2 lights, the LED 1 and 2 is on. That means you are in test run cooling. If you keep pressing this test run button, the number 2 will go off, number 3 will come on. Okay, that means you are in forced heating. You see the 2 light, the number 2 light went off because you kept holding. So now you are in test run heating. So some guys, they like using test run after they finish their job. The problem with that is not, I don't mind you guys using test run, but my problem is if you crossed wires, okay? And I have seen guys with 40 years experience, 30 years experience, 20 years experience, they cross wires by mistake. I don't blame them. So that can be a problem in test run, because when you cross wires, all Indo units are running. So you will not see that problem. That is only my only drawback. My only time that I call guys, do not use test run when you are on a brand new installation commissioning. I always tell my guys, when you're commissioning the system, run 1 unit at a time. When you're done with your installation, you release the gas, everything is up and fine, no problem, you're ready to start. Don't run it in test run, please. Run one unit, make sure it's running for 5 minutes, you're getting good cooling, and the other units are switched off by the remote controller. You're happy, switch it off, go to the next, run it for 5 minutes, others are off, move to the third unit, fourth and fifth. So run one unit at a time, please, just to make sure that you do not cross your wires. Because I'll tell you one thing, at the terminal block there, it gets confusing which wire came from where, when all the 5 wires are in, all the 6 wires are in. If it's a 2-zone, it's not a problem, it's easy. But if it's a 3, 4 and 5, it gets complicated, too many wires, you know. So test run, in my opinion, in my experience, only use it when you're doing troubleshooting. You are called for low on refrigerant or for whatever reason. And if you need to cancel it, just press it again and you're done. Wiring check. This button, don't even attempt to use it. It's there. But again, if you want to be adventurous and you're trying to be a little bit, I don't know, whatever you can call it, you can use it. But I don't like it because it can rectify your mistake. And if there is a problem down the road, and maybe due to power outage for 2 days, or maybe more than 2 days, that program may get erased. Okay, so the storage for wiring check does not take that long to go away, and then you might get again a call of H39 or F17 depending on which season you are in. Okay, in most cases you will notice a cross wiring in cool mode as opposed to in heat mode, because in heat mode there is no F17 and there is no H39. So in my opinion, please don't use the wiring check, because I'll tell you, it's going to mess you up. So these are the procedures they show of how to do the wiring check. And if there is a major problem, it cannot rectify. If there is a minor problem, it can rectify it. But again, I don't want you to use that, because you will waste your time in the end. And labor is not cheap here in this country. So please try and avoid that wiring check. The best wiring check, I can tell you, is what I just mentioned. One indoor unit at a time. One indoor unit at a time. And I'm telling you, based on my field experience, a teacher who trains you guys straight from the college of teaching may not know this, because he's going by the books. He or she is going by the books. I am talking based on my field experience. Okay, everything I've been talking here from 9 o'clock and moving forward is all fresh from the field. I've gone through this many times. I've replaced compressors. I've replaced parts. So what I'm giving you guys is fresh from the field. Okay. So once the wiring is done, you're good. You're either good, you're not good. You'll find out. But if you have time, you can do that. Then comes the power save button. Okay, if you have spent a lot of money to buy this big system, I don't know why you want to use the power save button, but if you want to use it, you are more than welcome to use it. So basically what power save does, it runs the frequency of the compressor at 75%. Instead of running at 100%, it will run at 75%, which means the compressor will not ramp too high. So if your neighbor is complaining it's too noisy or what have you, you can do that. Or if you have a big system but very small indoor units and it doesn't need that much of power, then you can do that too. So that way your power save comes into play. It reduces the capacity. Okay. And obviously, while reducing the capacity, it's reducing the compressor frequency. By reducing the frequency, you're reducing the noise. That's all. It's all about power save. And priority mode. What is priority mode? We have that button. You can use it if you want to, but so far in these 6 years with Panasonic, no contractor has used it. But again, if you have an option, you have it. So what it does, when you switch that on, the SW5, the priority of operation mode will be given to the indoor unit with the highest capacity. So in a system, let's say you have a 7, 7, 12, and 18. So the guy or the lady who is using the 18,000 BTU can change modes depending on what she or he wants, while the others will be kept on standby. That's what it does, priority mode. I don't think this can happen, but again, if you want it to happen, you have that option. And again, if you're not sure, you cannot remember, 2 months, 3 months down the road, always give us a call. Then you buy a heat pump, but now the homeowner says, I bought this heat pump only for cooling. I don't want to see anything to do with heat. Then again, you have the option. Okay, so in cool mode, in this heat pump, there is a jumper outside. There is a jumper outside. What it does, after you cut it, there is no more heat pump. There is no more heating. You will not even see. You will not even see the unit going into heat mode. It will always stay in cooling. Nothing will engage. So you can use this unit without disconnecting four-way valve or without disconnecting anything. The unit will stay in heating. In cooling only. Then when you want to put it back, for whatever reason, the guy said, oh, I want to use it in heating now. I heard a lot of good stories about its heat pump and all that. Please give me back heat. You can always reconnect that JP1. Okay, guys? Now let's talk about troubleshooting, okay? I didn't speak about troubleshooting in the earlier segment because troubleshooting, when it comes to error codes for single and multi, is the same, except for F17 and H39. F17 is the indoor unit is freezing on standby, and that is caused by wires crossed. And H39 is wiring crossed as well. Okay, so please remember, I didn't speak about troubleshooting in the single zones. I'm speaking it now because it applies to both. The error codes applies to both. Okay, let's start with H11. So H11, if there was no pandemic and we were allowed to go into a training session and all that, I would give you guys to do it hands-on. I would give you to create H11 and fix it. And how I would do that? H11, basically, it's a communication error. The indoor and outdoor are not talking to each other anymore. So now the indoor unit is displaying this error code H11. It is displaying after you retrieve it. Okay, and this is how you follow up. What you do is very simple. Go to the outdoor unit. Go to the outdoor unit and remove the number 3 wire. The number 1, 2, and 3 that goes to the indoor unit. Just remove number 3 wire. Power the unit on. So obviously power the unit off. Remove number 3 wire. Keep it hanging. Power the unit on. Measure the voltage using that meter. You remember I spoke about multimeter? That's the meter you need to use, guys. Don't use an amp probe. It will give you sometimes wrong readings and you may condemn the board. Meanwhile, the board is in good shape. It's the meter. So anyway, use that multimeter, measure between number 2 and number 3. Leave the wire hanging, number 3 wire that goes to the indoor unit. Leave it hanging. If you get a communication of up and down voltage, DC volts, of anywhere from 10 to 70, 10 to 40, 10 to 50, 50 back to 10, up and down, up and down, up and down, your outdoor unit board is good. Your outdoor unit PCB is good. You have a problem with the indoor PCB. Okay? Most cases, it will happen when the unit has been running for years and you have an H11 error code. In most cases, it's the outdoor PCB that got damaged because it goes through winter, it goes to rain, it goes to snow, it goes to so many things. There is wear and tear. So and most of the moving parts is at the outdoor unit: compressor, fan motor, electronic expansion valve, four-way valve, you name it. So I have seen with my experience in the trade, when I have an H11 and the unit has been running for many years, most cases, I would say 90% it's the outdoor board. Indoor board, very rare, it goes bad, very rare. But on a brand new install, guys, I can tell you 99% was the wire. The communication wire got crossed. And guys are refusing. They're saying, Paul, no. I've been doing this for so many years. I didn't cross the wire. I said, good. Send me a picture of the outdoor terminal block and the indoor. And right enough, I see the color code. The color codes are different. And when I ask him, what is this? Oh, shit, I didn't catch that. Or sometimes he will blame the apprentice. Poor apprentice. The poor apprentice is getting beatings, man. So please, there's no need to blame anybody. Just rectify it and you move on. But I'll tell you, communication is a very easy, a very simple test to do to find out where the problem is, indoor or outdoor. H12, you remember I mentioned to you H12, it's the wrong indoor unit that got installed. Okay, wrong indoor unit, a single zone got put into a multi-zone. But very rare H12 will happen. Okay, very rare. Or you are under capacity. You remember I told you you can put 2 indoor units. You can put 2 indoor units on a multi-zone as a minimum amount of indoor units. However, you need to respect the minimum and maximum capacity. So please keep in mind that you need not only to put 2 indoor units, but also you need to watch for the capacity. And if you don't obey that, you might end up getting H12. H15, very rare, but it can happen. H16, I had a H16 on a 8-9-year-old unit, a very old unit, probably maybe more than that, because it was an R22 system, inverter R22, and it had an H16, and it was the compressor pumping. The pumping was not good. So it could be the outdoor PCB or it could be low compression. But in my experience, a few calls on H16, the compressor pumping was low. Okay, so you never know. In your case, it could be the compressor or it could be the outdoor PCB. And this is how you will troubleshoot it. It's not difficult. You go through all the steps. And guess where I got this slide from? I got it from the app. So please, as a Panasonic loyal dealer or contractor or distributor, please download this on your iPhone, on your Android. Panasonic Air Conditioner Quick Service Guide. Type that and you should be up and running. Panasonic Air Conditioner Quick Service Guide. Ambient temperature, very rare. I told you earlier in my discussions, in my talking, that I very rare had a problem with sensors. And I'll tell you, I have not seen that. I have not seen that, but that doesn't mean. Yes, Panasonic AC Quick Service Guide. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Tony. Outdoor air temperature sensor. If you think that's the problem, go on your service manual, go on your app. And if you're not happy, you want to talk with me, call Tony, call me, no problem. We'll talk to you anytime. Outdoor heat exchanger temperature sensor again. Very rare, but it can happen. Okay. H32, outdoor heat exchanger temperature sensor. H33 is low voltage. Indoor-outdoor miscommunication abnormality. Okay. Supply voltage was low. In my opinion, H33 happened when I gave a 208 unit, a 208 230 unit, a 115 volt. That's where it happened, the H33. H36 never happened, but you never know. It can happen with you, and that's the problem. And trust me, with these sensors, when a sensor goes bad, the unit will not last for more than 3 minutes. The unit will not run, not last. It will not run for more than 3 minutes. Okay, James? The unit will not run more than 3 minutes before it shuts down if it is a sensor issue. H97, very common, especially winter time. And you may have guessed, if you are doing a lot of heat pumps and you're doing a lot of heat pumps in the snow country area where there's lots of snow, H97 is very common. That is why I mentioned earlier that the homeowner has to play their part. They have to clear snow around the unit for the system to work perfectly well throughout the year, throughout the season and seasons to come. So the moment I get this call, Paul, I have this error code H97. I haven't been to the outdoor unit. I tell them, go and check the outdoor unit. One job site was so funny that he told me, Paul, I can't see where the outdoor unit is. And I told him, I have not installed this unit. Who installed it? He said, I don't know who installed it. Guess what? It was covered with snow. A lot of snow. They had a snowstorm. A lot of snow. So guys, sometimes the unit gets covered with snow, which is very rare, but it can happen. But most of the time, snow goes into the unit and holds that fan blade during snowstorm. Because I know each and every one of you are always mounting the outdoor unit at least a minimum of 12 inches. More than 12 inches. More than 2 feet. Sometimes in some areas more than 2 feet above the ground. Because of the same issue of snow accumulation. So depending on region to region, I don't know what the code is, but depending on region to region, some regions 24 inches, 2 feet, some regions 1 feet, 1 foot. So it all depends which region you are operating from. Okay? Keep the unit up, never keep it on the ground. And this is how you will follow the chart and fix the problem. And if there is no snow, the fan is nice and free, try and reset the unit. And when you reset the unit and you get a H99 right away, then replace the outdoor fan. 1 out of 10 calls, like honestly, 1 out of maybe 2 or 3 months, I get a call on an H97, a fan motor took away the outdoor board as well. So that can happen, but very rare. Indoor high pressure protection, H98. This error is very common. It exists, but it will not shut down the system. As you can see here, it's a protection. So how it happens? So when you are in heat mode, the indoor unit becomes the condenser and the outdoor unit becomes the evaporator. So let's say you are working on a multi-zone, and if it was a 5-zone, for example, in this case, out of the 5 units, you are running only 1 unit. So that pressure becomes too large for that little indoor unit. So it will run, and after some time it will trip. It will shut down and come back on again. So in my opinion, if you have a 5-zone and you're running 1 unit at a time, 1 unit only, I would strongly advise you to turn on the other units, but keep the temperature low so that it can absorb some of the pressure of that outdoor unit. It's the surface area that counts, as you know. The surface area of the outdoor unit is too large for just 1 indoor unit to operate. Hence, we get this H98. But again, H98 is just a protection. It's not going to lock out. If, for whatever reason, you call me and says, Paul, you told me it never locks out, but in my case, it locked out, then definitely you have a clogged filter or clogged blower wheel. Definitely. Or maybe a defective indoor unit. In that case, the unit will shut down. H99. Once again, H99 will never ever trip in heat mode. H99 is designed for cool mode, dry mode, or auto mode error. It is not an error that is programmed in heat mode. So please keep that in mind, that this H99, if you get it summertime, check if the coil is dirty, check if you are low on refrigerant, or check if the homeowner selected dry mode when there is no enough of humidity to take care of the indoor coil. So when there is no enough of humidity, the coil is operating at a lower fan speed, the coil gets super cold and it shuts down on antifreeze protection. When the coil gets below 32 degrees Fahrenheit, the system shuts down. If it shuts down 4 times in less than an hour, the indoor unit will start flashing H99. So if I have a customer and the customer likes using dry mode, I would advise that customer to use cool mode, because even in cool mode, when the unit is targeting set temperature, it drops the humidity. But if the customer says, oh, no, I want to use dry mode. Okay, there is a rule. You just don't use dry mode. Dry mode needs humidity. So if you are having humidity of 80% and above, dry mode is not bad. It will work fine. You will not have issues. And if you call me and say, Paul, humidity levels is 80% and above, and the unit still shut down on H99, I strongly advise you that to check your refrigerant. You are definitely low on refrigerant. Four-way valve happens, but very rare. If you get a F11 on a system that has been running for maybe 8-9 years, it's the indoor sensor. When it says faulty sensor, it's the indoor sensor that has a problem. Okay? And if it's on a brand new system, go outside and check. Chances are, during power supply cable, when they were shoving in the wire, who knows? Sometimes the plug gets pulled off and it came off the four-way valve, and now the unit is not engaging. And if it is a system that has been running off and on and it's getting F11, chances are maybe, I don't know, you are low on gas, or a defective four-way valve coil, or the four-way valve itself. And to change the four-way valve, it's not fun, because many of my guys, when they change that valve, not the coil, guys, not the coil, the valve, they forget to put a cold, wet cloth while they are brazing. And guess what? With the Teflon inside, the material inside is something very close to plastic. It melts, and we have the same problem. And guess what? Oh, Paul, you told me to change the four-way valve, and I have the same problem. And when the unit comes to me, I cut and open, and this is what I see. The inside got melted. A brand new four-way valve coil. They did not put the wet cloth, and now it got overheated, and that's the problem. And I'm not making up stories, guys. I'm telling you fresh from the field, and I've seen it. So that's your F11. F17 is the error code where the guy crossed the wires. Now the guy will call me and say, Paul, it ran the whole winter. I never have issues. I said, yes, it will run the whole winter, no problems, because F17 is freezing of indoor unit coil. So in heat mode, the indoor unit will never freeze, only during defrost cycle. And during defrost cycle, we don't have an F17 error. So guys, indoor unit freezing in cooling, F17, check your wire. Wrong wiring connection. That's 99.9%. Electronic expansion valve. Okay, electronic expansion valve, very rare. Normally when this goes bad, we don't get an F17. we get an error of F99, F90, or something like that. Stuck compressor. Compressor goes up, goes into vacuum and stuff like that. This is when the coil is defective or there is a blockage here. Okay, so when the unit starts in cooling, it goes into vacuum, and you're positive that both lines are open. Your Allen keys are fully seated out. Okay, they're fully out. That means that this electronic expansion valve coil or the valve body is clogged, or the coil is closing this valve and causing the unit into pump down. So the first thing you would do, the easier thing you would do, is to change this coil. And if the coil fixes the problem, then the coil was a problem. But if it doesn't fix the problem, then you have a clogged stuff here, clogged joint. In most cases, when guys are replacing compressors, they should take this out, flush the system, then put this back, and then again braze everything, and you're up and running. But this is mostly on, I don't know, 8, 9 years, 10 years units I'm talking about. F90. F90 is what? Power factor correction. Okay? Low DC voltage. So when you have an F90, in most cases, it's the outdoor PCB. I may have got 1 or 2 cases, but very rare. And honestly, it's not a compressor. It's not the compressor, it's the board. F91, 99.1%, it's your number one problem here. You're low on refrigerant. Okay, guys, I will show you F91 pictures. I will show you pictures of F91, okay, in my slides to come. Here, this unit was low on refrigerant by 2 pounds. This one, I think 1.6 to 1.7. This one, I can't remember, but they are from 3 different regions, okay? I put these pictures so that when you come across this kind of a picture, the unit went into defrost and came out quickly because the time, it exceeded its 10-minute time, and there was not much enough of refrigerant, hot gas, to melt all that coil. So please, 2 pounds, 1.6 pound might sound very little to you, but trust me, it's a lot of refrigerant for our mini split units. So please keep that in mind. Please keep that in mind when you see these kind of pictures. You are low on refrigerant. Recover all the refrigerant, pressurize the system, no leaks, charge with new gas. Don't use the same gas, guys. Charge with new Freon. F93 is not a good code. It's a bad code. And I say bad meaning compressor. So I think F93, I may have got 1 or 2. And that's about it. I never got a F93 since then. So I'm talking about 6 years now with Panasonic. And I can think of 2 calls only on F93. And I hate this code because it's a big job, compressor replacement and all that kind of thing. And especially when you're replacing a compressor on a -15 or -5 day, your brain is also frozen, you know. F94, very rare, but it can happen. And if it happens, this is the issue. There are so many error codes under F and under H, but I'll tell you one thing, most of these error codes are dead on. F96, if you get, definitely the outdoor PCB. F97, never had this before, but again, if you get it, check all these issues. Very rare to see a 3-way valve closed. In most cases, when you're done with vacuuming, you check maintaining good microns, you release the gas and you release on both sides. Very rare. I have come across maybe 1 or 2 jobs where the guy forgot to open up both valves. They open only the suction and they forgot to open the liquid. I don't know why, I don't know how, but it can happen. Or refrigerant shortage. F98, I've never had this issue, but it's there. F99, I had few calls on F99, and mostly it was the outdoor PCB. Okay, not the compressor, not anything else, but outdoor PCB. That's it. That brings us to the end of our single zone and multi-zone session. I hope you got something out of this. It's not easy, you know. I know most of you guys, you guys prefer hands-on. Right now it's tough because of these lockdown things and COVID. But trust me, when the time comes, we will be doing hands-on. So if you have any questions, please, you know, feel free, guys.